whether they'll be allowed to leave Houston and they'll be relieved of their current duties and they'll be allowed to come back to Bharat. What's the update on that front? Is there a coordination with ISRO who are watching and managing Shubhanshu's timelines? Shrishti.
Right. So this was a private spaceflight collaboration. So we are assuming that the plan has changed a bit, because normally what happens is that each time the astronauts return back to Earth, they have to undergo a specific period of quarantine. Now, considering that this spaceflight lasted for about 18 days, about a week or 10 days of quarantine period is very important, because it does take some time for the astronauts to acclimatize to the conditions here.
Right.
But the latest update that we got from the European Space Agency, that one of the astronauts was allowed to travel to Germany within 24 hours of the splashdown. So we expect that there might be some change in the schedule, which the Indian Space Research Organization is yet to confirm.
Right, we'll await that confirmation and hasty homecoming for Bharat's first Gagan Yatri, who's also spent time on the ISS. Shrishti, thank you for that update. Great pictures, those viewers, but let's move forward and move into the political debate on this edition of the Hard Facts. And I'm just going to set that up. Allow me to just walk across over in our studio to tell you the details. What's happened is there have been those who've said our itihasa or our history needs to be projected and taught in our schools as it is. Some eminent historians, as author Utpal Kumar calls them, slanted the versions of history, and a lot of them and a lot of experts have believed, who have said more than a decade now, that that needs to be corrected because Bharat was not learning the right itihasa. Point is, a nation needs to know its history, its inconvenient truths, along with the dark times and the good. Not everything should be glossed over or somewhere wrapped in cotton wool, because only a nation that comes to terms with it and accepts its past will then assess its present and plan for the future. Now, the NCERT has revised the Class 8 Social Science textbook, stoking fresh controversy as it now introduces students to the Delhi Sultanate and the Mughals, pointing to, quote, many instances of religious intolerance, unquote, and atrocities. Now, it has described Babur as a brutal and ruthless conqueror, but says that Babur himself, in the Baburnama, has elucidated all that he has done. It also sheds lights on the atrocities against non-Muslims during the reign of Akbar, where again they quote Ain-e-Akbari, where Akbar himself says in his younger days he was brutal. And it also chronicles the massacre of more than 30,000 civilians and their forced conversions. But of course, later on highlights the fact that he became a man of peace and also of conciliation later in his later years. Aurangzeb and Khilji are all detailed their brutality. In fact, it's an irony that the Nalanda that he burnt till date, the railway station there is called Bakhtiarpur. So how is that okay with the present day generation, or do they not even know that? That's the big question. Now, all of these details have been presented by new additions, and are historical facts, expanding the understanding of students over the Delhi Sultanate beyond what has been taught over the last many decades. In fact, this is just part 1. There is a part 2, and it's a continuation from what they learn in grade 7. Now, the opposition has called this, quote-unquote, saffronization of history, while not contesting the facts presented by the additions. They have claimed the changes aim to malign the Muslim community and sow seeds of communal hatred. But here is a deep dive of the changes as per the new facts presented in the textbooks. Let's try and understand this. Alauddin Khilji and Malik Kafur destroyed Hindu centers such as Srirangam, Madurai, Chidambaram and Rameshwaram. Multiple recorded attacks on Buddhist, Jain and Hindu temples during the Delhi Sultanate. Destruction of non-Muslim sites motivated not just by plunder but also iconoclasm. Jizya tax was a source of humiliation and social incentive for religious conversion. Babur was a ruthless conqueror who slaughtered millions across Bharat. Babur used to take pride in erecting towers of skulls to highlight conquest. Akbar's reign was a blend of brutality and tolerance. Akbar attacked Chittorgarh fort and ordered massacre of 30,000 civilians. Aurangzeb ordered demolition of multiple schools and temples. Now, if you look closely at the text of the revisions, this is what they state. Aurangzeb's record. Now, this is what it says. This is on Babur and India, and this is Aurangzeb. Personal religious motive for 1669, for instance, he ordered governors of all provinces to demolish schools and temples of the infidels and put their teachings and religious practice. Put down their teachings and religious practice. So this is what it says, the text says. Let's look at Babur's record. Let's read. Yeah, this is Babur. Now, Babur left a candid autobiography of a great historical value, Baburnama or Babur's Memoirs. In it, he comes out as cultured and intellectually curious with a keen appreciation for architecture, poetry, animals, birds in particular, many of which he lists in some detail, and flora, fruit trees. But he was also a brutal, ruthless conqueror, slaughtering entire populations of cities, enslaving women and children, and taking pride in erecting towers of skulls made from the slaughtered people of plundered cities. Now, this is made into the NCERT text because people have to accept that there is good and bad in everyone. There are wrong and right in everyone. For those who would want to read, Abbas Maldayar's Babur chronicles this in far greater detail. Meanwhile, Akbar ordered the massacre of 30,000 civilians, and surviving women and children were enslaved. Akbar was 25 at the time, and he sent a message of victory which read, "We have succeeded in occupying a number of forts and towns belonging to the infidels and have established Islam there." So this happened during the time of the Mughals. To try and show them as benign, is that right? What they did thereafter is also chronicled, but this also happened. His slave general Malik Kafur expanded the Sultanate's reach southward, conquering several kingdoms on the way. Their plundered wealth helped finance the Sultanate's enormous military apparatus. He also attacked a number of Hindu centers such as Srirangam, Madurai, Chidambaram, and possibly Rameshwaram. So that's what it says. And all of this has been verified. These records have been verified. The jizya tax. Let's understand this. Some of the sultans also imposed jizya tax on non-Muslim subjects to grant them protection and exemption from military service. In practice, depending on the ruler, this discriminatory tax would be a source of economic burden and public humiliation, and formed a financial and social incentive for subjects to convert to Islam. And this jizya continued even into independence. Now, did we read that in our history books? People didn't even realize that this jizya tax existed before it was totally abolished. Now, but here is what the opposition claims is the end game for this revision. Listen in.
Their main purpose is to defame the minorities. Present, past, future, every time minorities will be blamed. Can you compare the brutality of Mughal with Indian brutality now?
साहू फूले अम्बेडकर को पढ़ाया जाना चाहिए, सोशल रिफॉर्मर्स को पढ़ाया जाना चाहिए, बजाय ये तो धर्म व्यक्तिगत तौर से जितना आप मानना चाहते हो मानो, और माना ही जा रहा है, कोई रोकने वाला नहीं।
एनसीईआरटी का मतलब नेशनल कम्युनल एजुकेशन सिस्टम, ये सिलेबस की पूरे तोड़ मरोड़ करके जिस तरह हमारे इतिहास को हाईजैक करने की प्रयास कर रहे हैं, एक संकीर्ण पॉलिटिकल एजेंडा को लेकर, ये हमारे बच्चों की, हमारी जनरेशन की पढ़ाई में जो सांप्रदायिकता की बीज डालने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं, ये बेहद गलत है।
Well, the head of NCERT's curricular area group for social science is Michel Danino. And there are a few quotes to some of the press outlets that he has given. We'll read that out in a bit. Now, the opposition has mobilized the same line time and again. But why are these revisions important, viewers? As per experts, it seems the history of Delhi Sultanate has been extensively whitewashed. Textbooks often present Mughals as Indian monarchs rather than foreign conquerors. They are all Temurites, descendants of Temur. Now, Mughal era of Mughal era often has been portrayed as a golden age of culture, downplaying the religious tensions, how they have burnt knowledge, wisdom that contains science, knowledge of astronomy, knowledge of gravity, knowledge geography. All of it has been burnt down. And they just did it because they thought these are infidels, kufr. Now, and those who are akin to Buddh Parasti. They have to be broken down. Now, the resistance from Marathas, Sikhs, Rajputs is often underplayed or treated as marginal. Destruction of an estimated 50,000 temples are completely absent from textbooks. Aurangzeb's temple destruction is glossed over in favor of his administrative skills. Akbar's tolerance is praised, but military aggression at Chittor is rarely mentioned. Aurangzeb's jizya and temple demolition are framed as political, not religious. Forced conversions are often ignored with focus on temple patronage and alliances. Shah Jahan is praised for monuments, but economic strain and military expansion is sidelined. The big question is stating itihas. Why is it? Itihas is as it happened. Why is it an issue for historians? Pradeep Bhandari, national spokesperson of the BJP with us. Ruchika Sharma, historian, is with us. Atikur Rahman, Islamic scholar. Hindol Sengupta, historian and professor of international relations at the OP Jindal Global University, is with us. My namaste and Jai Hind to everybody. Pradeep Bhandari, this is RSSification of the educational curriculum. That's what the opposition is aiming. RSS ka agenda chala rahi hai BJP.
Well, Anand ji, the reality is that we are quoting facts as it is. And the truth is that Mughal era represented a conquest by foreigners who were blatantly anti-Hindu, and I will quote certain facts. It was taught to us that Akbar was great, but it was not taught to us that Akbar killed 30,000 peasants, innocent farmers. When he had conquest the fort of Chittor, that is Chittor fort, on 9th March 1568, in Fathnama, the victory proclamation, Akbar writes, and I quote, that those who he had enslaved were called infidels, point number one. Point number two, when 30,000 peasants and farmers tried to protect themselves, Akbar on his own ordered his men, and these 30,000 peasants were killed. This is also stated in various texts, and I will quote them. The great Mughals by Ira Mukhoti quotes that in 1568, after a prolonged siege, Akbar captured the fort of Chittorgarh. After the victory, he ordered the massacre of 40,000 unarmed Hindus. In Annals and Antiques of Rajasthan by James Todd writes that Akbar counted the number of Hindus killed by weighing their Janeu. After the massacre of Chittorgarh, the total weight of the Janeu collected was 74.5 man, that is 40 kgs. In the book, The Akbar, the Mughal ruler, Vincent Smith on page number 58 writes, Akbar looted and ravaged the cities of Prayag and Banaras. This part of Akbar's history had been hidden and ignored. That is a hard fact. Now let me come to another argument. On, say, for instance, Aurangzeb. We've been made to say, there have been leaders of Samajwadi Party who said that Aurangzeb was secular and a great leader. What does history tell you? History of Aurangzeb by Jagannath Sarkar, page 282. On 2nd September 1669, Aurangzeb ordered hundreds of soldiers attack the Kashi Vishwanath temple, and the temple was demolished. In Masrai Alamgiri, page 249, Aurangzeb asked his commander Hamyuddin Khan, and he destroyed the temple at Bijapur and converted it into mosque. This is the same instance with Babur also. Now, those who are accusing us, let me remind them of 1969. In 1969, Parliamentary Consultative Committee wanted the textbook on ancient India and wanted to categorically state that Aryans were indigenous to India. You know who rebutted it? Not just the government of the day. It was the likes of Thapar and the other historians who in ISCHR for 4 terms, 5 terms, 6 terms, continued to only peddle one version of history, which was distorted history. They did not put forward the communal aspect of the Mughal in front of the people of India. So what we are doing is pure facts, and I believe that we have the right to state facts. They distorted history for vote bank politics. On this panel, I challenge every panelist who wants to disagree with me, please quote a certain reference, a single primary document where what I have stated is not factual.
Ruchika ji.
Hi, is that my question?
Yes. Your thoughts on this, on the NCERT revision of books, and also what Mr. Pradeep Bhandari has just said.
Sure. I'll come to the first question first. On NCRT's revisions, I have two main issues. Firstly, NCRT on some points is blatantly lying. And on second, my second issue with them is that a lot of it is a lot of incomplete history that they are telling. Now, the points on which they are lying, first of all, as you had explained in your slides, that jizya was considered as a ploy to give, the Hindus a way to convert to Islam in order to escape paying jizya. Which source is the NCRT citing for this? Because I don't think there is a single source, whether it is before Akbar or after Akbar, or at any point of time in the Islamic world, where it says that jizya was somehow offered as an incentive for the non-Muslims to convert to Islam.
I'll answer that.
Right? So where is this particular source coming from?
I'll answer
The question of brutality is a very interesting question of brutality. I'd like to bring two examples of cruelty and brutality over here, which the NCRT has missed, and therefore I think NCRT is indulging in incomplete histories. First of all, there is a inscription on a temple in Tamil Nadu by Rajadhiraja Chola and his people, which says that Rajadhiraja Chola in the 11th century went to Ceylon, which is today called Sri Lanka, and there was a Pandya ruler ruling over there called Veera Salamagan. After he defeated Veera Salamagan, what he does is he cuts the nose off of Veera Salamagan's mother and then loots his entire harem, including Veera Salamagan's sister and Veera Salamagan's own daughter. They're both abducted and kidnapped, and they're taken back to Tamil Nadu in the Chola kingdom. Right? This particular example of brutality is just nowhere there. In fact, if you look at any monarch, which monarch has gone and conquered a particular place without instances of brutality? Which particular monarch has not killed people in order to conquer a particular place? If you look at Akbar's reign, for example, since we're talking about Chittorgarh, this is a person who ruled from 1560 all the way to 1605. Now, this is 45 years. In his 45 years of reign, there is only one instance that the NCRT could pick up and then use that to label him as cruel.
No.
If you would give me time, I can come up.
You can respond. But Ruchika ji, two points. The NCRT does not say that Akbar was only brutal. The NCRT says that when he was 25, he committed this act.
Yes.
But thereafter, later on in his years, he became conciliatory and he was peaceful. So they also quote from N.A. Akbari. It's not that they don't.
Yes.
But what they do is, they don't just talk about him being peaceful. The other thing is, brutality when you are fighting and vanquishing the enemy, there are certain things which are par for course for war. There are certain things which are not. So please tell me any account of the Chola kings destroying any of the Buddhist viharas when they attacked the Pandyan kings. They didn't.
I am very glad you asked, because I have examples to give you.
No. When you quoted the Cholas and the Pandyan kings, what was committed was an act of brutality on the enemy because you had to conquer that. But they did not destroy the Buddhist viharas at that time. They did not destroy the Buddhist viharas. The other thing,
maybe in that instance they don't.
No, because please. I'm just saying because.
So basically you are saying cutting the nose of a civilian woman is perfectly fine.
One minute. The case with Akbar, it was highlighted because he himself said that I killed them and I brutalized them and I culled them because they were infidels, because they were non-believers. There was a religious angle to it. It was not a political animosity angle to it. This is where the Distorian problem comes, ma'am.
In fact, the Chola inscription says that the Chola ruler Rajadhiraja was very brave to have committed this act
that is
of
victory.
brutality.
That is written.
On the mother.
History is written from the victor's point of view, but the angle was political animosity. It was not religious bigotry.
She was a civilian woman.
It was not Ruchika ji. See, you've gotten caught, so don't try and you've gotten caught. The intent
all of the women who were looted were not part of the war.
bigotry, that they were infidels. In the case of Akbar, Aurangzeb, Babur, they were non-believers. In the case of the Cholas and the Pandyas, it was a long drawn political animosity, even though both sides had both Shaivites and Vaishnavites. They they may have.
Why bring in the women?
So that's what I'm trying to
So
say.
why
No,
kidnap
what
the civilian
what
women?
happens?
Why cut their
Brutality,
noses?
brutality with
Why
women
cut
or
the
or
noses
or
of the
political
women?
animosity,
Is that not
plundering and all that.
brutality?
No.
Cutting the nose
No.
of civilian
You are
women
now
is
hanging
not
around
brutality.
brutality.
She
You are
is
trying to
exposed.
again gloss over the religious bigotry, which was glossed over.
Yes.
That's the
I
distortion.
can give you
The
examples
religious bigotry
of
that
Chola
Hindus have to
rulers.
be culled because they are not Muslims. That was
I
that.
can
That's
give you,
what. So
if
that's
you
what.
have
Okay.
time to listen,
Pradeep,
and if you have willingness to listen, I can give you examples of
date-
Chola
No,
rulers
till now-
I'm
destroying
taking.
Jain temples.
You decided
Destroying
to
Jain
pick an
temples.
example which was not
I can give
bigotry
you an
to
example.
try and steer
I
the
can give
discussion
you
to
an example.
brutality. I
I
am
can
saying
give you
stick
an
to
example
stick
of
to
Chola
bigotry.
rulers.
Stick to
You just
religious
don't want to
bigotry.
listen to it.
Yeah.
Till
You
now,
just
the
don't-
This
communist.
is how historians work.
You
Yeah.
just
One
don't
second.
want to
Till
listen
now,
to it. I can give you example
Ruchika,
of Chola
who
rulers
believes in
who
the
have
communist
destroyed-
thought
who have
process,
destroyed
has not been
Jain
able to
temples.
quote a single
I can give
primary
you
text.
examples of
I have
Chola
quoted
rulers who have
Fatnama,
destroyed
the
Jain
victory
temples.
proclamation
I'm
of
categorically
Akbar,
stating
where
that
the
channel
word
is not
used
allowed
is
to speak
over each other.
infidels.
Let's
I
not
was not
speak over each
speaking
other.
over you,
Okay,
Ruchika.
one
Now, when
minute.
your
Please,
facts-
Heal, I'll come back to you.
Ruchika, I was
wasn't
not
even given
speaking
time to
over you.
speak.
No. So please,
That
Heal,
is
I'll come back to
exactly
you.
how they do
I'll
it.
come
When
back.
they do
Okay,
not have
okay.
facts, they rattle.
Let's time out on both sides. Hindol Sen Gupta and
10
Atikur.
seconds,
No,
she challenged
Hindol Sen
just
Gupta
5
and Atikur.
seconds.
No, 1 minute. 1 minute. You know what is brutality, ma'am? That a professor on the middle of the street in 1994, his two legs are chopped off so that he
Yes.
can't walk. It's being done by the communists. Tell me if it is there part of the Kerala history, ma'am. Tell me the brutality of the communists is there as part of the Kerala history books, and has it been added? Has it been added? A professor P.J. Joseph's hands are chopped off. A Sadananda Master's feet are chopped off.
dare you put it on a temple and say, wow, the Chola ruler
That
is
is not
great to have
brutality.
done this
That
to
is
a
not
woman.
brutality. Let's
And
talk
then say,
brutality.
oh my God, that's
That-
because-
That's not.
Oh, of
How
course,
dare
of
you
course,
as a
whatever is happening to
historian
the woman is
try
not
and
brutality. Thank you.
conflict
Thank you for letting us
an
know
act
that
of
cutting
religious
the nose of
bigotry
woman is not a
with a
brutality.
political
I can
act
give you
of
an-
war.
I can
An
give you
act
that
of war
example as
and an
well.
act of
Will you
brutality
listen?
driven by
communists are.
hatred
I
and
can give you
bigotry is
that example
different.
as well.
That's
They're
how communists
different.
I can give you an example
Hindol
of
Sen
Chola
Gupta.
rulers
Hindol Sen
destroying
Gupta. Now, ma'am, please,
multiple
both of you,
Jain
please yield.
temples.
Please
Allow
yield.
me, she took
Please,
my time.
no, please yield. Hindol Sen Gupta and Atikur Rahman. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I just want to say that, the few times of these debates again and again, especially with people who have barely ever published anything in their life, but that's okay. I mean, this will go on and on. Let me just say this, Anand, that there are really very few examples of the kind of brutality and the kind of iconoclasm that Islamic conquest has done, not only in India, but anywhere in the world. There are very few examples. Now, we can keep trying to produce, one tidbit from here and one tidbit from there. But there will never be an end to this debate. The fact is, Islamic iconoclasm has very few peers in regard to, or with regard to, the kind of absolutist brutality that it conducted its affairs in various parts of the world, not just in India. In India, especially, there is a particular kind of brutality because, of course, infidels who are also worshippers of Put-parast, I think you used the phrase, or the word, the infidels who also worship idols are in the eyes of particular sections in Islamic theology are the worst kind of people, and therefore the atrocities against Hindus specifically are particularly brutal. That does not mean, as you yourself were pointing out, that there are not some good things that the Mughals did. Indeed, in his later life, Akbar did become a genuine, he did become someone who genuinely tried to bridge, create bridges between different faiths. Of course, we cannot forget, other, Islamic
He tried to bring through the two different ways of life, the Abrahamic thought and the Sanatan thought in Deen-e-Ilahi. He tried to do that, yeah.
We cannot also forget that the Mughals contributed, stayed in our country, contributed, built families, built lineages, and so on and so forth. But the problem that we always face, and we have faced for decades, Anand, is that only one aspect of the Mughals have been highlighted in the name of trying to preserve communal harmony. Sadly, even though this has been tried for so long, communal harmony on the basis of lies cannot, or the basis of, one part of the truth can never exist, and therefore it has never existed in India. I think it is time we see things as they are, in black and white, with all the complexities, and we accept the complexities, anybody who argues that Islamic iconoclasm has a parallel by picking up some temple inscription of the Cholas, I mean, this is laughable. This is not serious stuff. If this is the level of debate, then we should, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I at least should not participate in such laughable debate. But this is, look at the bloodshed, look at the sweep of bloodshed that Islamic
But
iconoclasm
Hindol
has
Sen
had
Gupta, these
across
are the
world.
people who 500 years of the Chola kingdom, 700 years or 800 years of the Ahoms, plus the Chalukyas, their reign, the Guptas, they were all reduced to one page, one and a half, 2 pages. The interpretation of Ashok itself was changed. Ashok was already a Buddhist before the war of Kalinga happened. But then what did the history books say? That he embraced Buddhism only after Kalinga war. So all of these historians, these narratives happened. Why was Ashok, what was so big deal? What was why was the Vishnu Stamba which is there in Delhi? Why is that not talked about? What is the history with respect to the Vishnu Stamba, the temples around that and Qutbuddin Aibak? What did he try and do when he came? How is the Qutub Minar built? With what remnants? What are the stones that have been used to build the Qutub Minar? They are nothing but the same stones that were plundered and broken out of the temples that were destroyed there. Is that part of our history book? It should be there. It should be there. Because the textbooks also say that what happened in the past should not be reflected on those in the present, because today's generation's got nothing to do with what happened in the past. But it is important to reconcile. It is important to understand the inconvenient dark truths of our history as they happened, even in the colonial rule. And even before that, even before the Mughals came, even before the colonial rule happened, even before in the previous dynasties across the various riyasats, even in the time of Kanishk, lot of atrocities. Let's understand that along with the good. Let's not just gloss over, and let's not put about 5,000 years of our history into 2 chapters and highlight, across three grades, only 600 years of our history. Atikur Rahman. That's another problem with our history. It's far greater and far deeper. Atikur Rahman, thank you for your patience. Then coming back to you, Pradeep and Ruchika. Ji.
Thank you. Anand, I have no qualms accepting that the rulers, mainly the Muslim rulers, if they are quoted with brutalities. But for God's sake, I am not ready to accept that they were communal in nature. If they were communal in nature, just tell me 2 things. What was the need for Akbar to get the Mahabharata translated into Persian? What was his aim? And if Akbar is mentioned, Aurangzeb is mentioned, why not Dara Shikoh? He got the Upanishads translated into Persian. What was the need? And the quotes, if Pradeep Bhandari is saying that whatever you want to mention it by names and by quotes. There are innumerable amount of quotes wherein people and historians have established that the communal angle given to the Mughal history, I can agree on the Muslim part of the history. But beyond 1526, I am not ready to accept that the Mughals were communal in nature, except Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb did brutalities against the Hindu brethren, that is accepted. But to draw in with him with Akbar and various other kinds of communal angles, and for God's sake, Anand, if all this is establish it by facts. And why are the politicians into academics? I do not understand. If the historians are saying that these brutalities were in the name of religion or otherwise, I will accept it, but not by the BJP and the RSS. The ruling regime is from time immemorial, they are against the Muslim and the Mughal rule.
Okay, now the person who heads the NCERT, head the Department of Social Sciences, is Michel Danino. He's got nothing to do with the RSS or with the BJP. The NCERT and also has taken its time to substantiate all that they have included into the textbooks with proof, with background. And who killed Dara Shikoh, sir? Who did not tolerate someone who wanted who walked on a path of moderation? Let's not forget that. And why was that person killed? Why was Dara Shikoh killed? And by whom?
Bring it to light,
Correct. So that is it. And with Akbar, sir, like you said, like Ruchika ji said, we also know he ruled a long time. He became a king at a young age. So Hindol had a point. So at 25 he was brutal. At 30 he was brutal. He perhaps reformed, changed his worldview and things as he saw reality over a period of time. But one has to accept that he was also brutal. Nobody, and the textbook doesn't say that he was only brutal. The textbook also says he reformed. The textbook also very clearly says that he not only reformed, he also tried to make peace. He tried to bring the two groups together. Those who did not, the Muslims and the non-Muslims, he brought them together. I will not say Muslims and Hindus, it was Muslims and non-Muslims. Because, sir, and correct me if I am wrong, Hindol Sengupta, this whole term Bhut-parasti came because those who were worshippers of Buddha. It came from the regions of Afghanistan, Kandahar, and from those areas where they started destroying those who were worshipping Buddha or Bhut. Because it was with Buddha that the whole, Murti worship actually started becoming too big, proliferating from the times of the Buddha. And Bhut-parasti finds its origins from Buddha. So Buddhists also suffered a lot. Yes, Hindol Sengupta.
So mentioning Buddhists, please remember Nalanda. Right? Please remember Nalanda of its time was the Harvard and Oxford of its time. Please remember Amartya Sen famously said how the world order shifted as far as knowledge is concerned. Approximately, historically speaking, approximately at the time when Nalanda was being burned down, Oxford and Cambridge were rising. This is how the world of knowledge shifted from its power base in the east to the power base in the west. I completely accept Dara Shikoh was genuinely somebody who wanted a really composite culture. I object to the fact that people who want to celebrate Aurangzeb never mention Dara Shikoh. I totally agree with the person who spoke before me that yes, Dara Shikoh ought to be mentioned. Dara Shikoh had a huge contribution and we have completely wiped him out completely wrongly from our history. This is the problem. If you look at Irfan Habib's work, for instance, right? He talks about how the Mughal state was entirely extractive in nature. What does that mean? That every step there was a pushback, but we never talk about that. I am absolutely willing to accept that in his later years, Akbar genuinely wanted to understand the people who ruled, because he had lived his entire life in this country, and he tried to, he was born in this country. He tried to understand and bring together a reconciliation between faiths. But while we entirely accept all that, we cannot wish away the kind of atrocities and brutalities, especially in the name of faith. Somebody was saying earlier, Anil, that jizya supposedly is not to convert people. If this is the kind of argument that are being made in Indian television, then I don't know, we should all just pick up and go home. This is ridiculous. What else is jizya if it's not in a sense of quite a harsh nudge towards the fact that if you have to live in a particular domain ruled under Sharia, you should convert to Islam. This is ridiculous. So we should really have a composite view. And I think the NCERT has tried to give a composite view. I think you've done a great service, Anand, by pointing out the composite view that the NCERT has tried to present in your show today. And I think we really should see it for what it is. It does not paint everybody in black at all. It tries to balance out the good and the bad. And I think we should see it like that. And as you correctly said, this has nothing to do with people today. Correct. This is something that happened a long time ago. Why should people be angry about this today?
Yeah, not just be angry, it's about accepting it. Because only when you accept the past, embrace it in full. There is black, there is white, and there is a lot of grey. And you've got to embrace it in all shades and then move forward. That's when the present will set itself right. Otherwise, it's never going to set itself right, because one side will always feel wronged from the other when they realize, oh my God, is this the reality? It was not taught to us. Yes, Pradeep Bhandari.
Anandji, on 23rd of March 2025, we ourselves were asking the question to those who propound the Mughal history that why do not speak about Dara Shikoh? How many times these historians and their political backers in the India Alliance have asked for a road on the name of Dara Shikoh and not Aurangzeb? Can you even enlist me thrice? Not even thrice in their entire thing, but they have asked for a road in the name of Aurangzeb 100 times. Now let me go to certain facts. I will tell you what exactly is absolving and what exactly is distorting history. In 1989 in Bengal, there was a communist government. You know what the communist government had passed as a circular, and I quote, in 1989 when the communists were ruling Bengal, no part of history should ever have this scenario that Islamic rule should never attract any criticism. Mughal rule should never attack any criticism. Destruction of temples by Islamic rulers and invaders should not be mentioned in the history book. So when you have this past precedent for 70 years, as this has been taught as factual history, then definitely you will have revulsion from individuals who've done this. 1989, Bengal, quoted by a magazine as Outlook and others. Please go ahead, see the circular.
You know, sir, 2018, 2019, there was a person, very tall person, who said that not a single word, not a single page has been touched or changed in my tenure in the last 4 years as education minister. He has nothing to do with communism, sir. He was a career RSS person and a tall leader of the BJP, the nation's education minister. What do you have to say for that?
Our intent
Today is 2025, sir. You are in power. When I say you are in power, the BJP is in power since 2014. And it's today that you are revising it after 12 years.
Anandji,
So
at
let's
least we are
don't call
doing
yourself. No. At least what are you doing?
Anandji,
Are you doing the country a
We are doing
favor?
what we've committed. You yourself have said that since 18
12
to 20
years to get here. 12 years.
Exhaustive work has happened.
You know 12 years
work
is
has happened.
12
Exhaustive,
years.
Anandji.
12 years is
Composite
12 batches.
exhaustive work has happened.
12 batches of students who have studied distorted history according to you. In
No,
12
I don't believe-
years,
I'll tell
12
you,
batches of students have
Anandji,
already
we
studied
are
under
living-
your governance.
No, they are also watching shows of anchors like you. They are not only accustomed to reading one text.
No, sir.
They are accustomed to wide plethora of knowledge. So do not think that since
Flattery is
2014
not
only
going to
one
help
part of knowledge is
deceive.
going.
Flattery is not going to help
I'm not
deceive.
flattering you, I'm telling you
When
a
I say
reality.
when I say
We have
you,
done it.
when I
It is
say
us who
your
have done
government,
it.
no
We
sir.
have been working on it since. With
This
this
government,
logic, you
this
will say,
country,
why did it take
this
you
country,
ages to remove
no,
Article
this country,
370?
no, this country, sir, this country has seen more than 3 education ministers under your watch.
I
When I say
understand
your
your
watch,
concern,
under the
but
BJP's
right now it
watch,
has been done.
and it's taken 12 years to
Anand,
correct
Anandji,
2
with
textbooks,
that
sir.
logic, it has taken us 70 years to remove, abrogate Article 370.
May I
Big
add
decisions take
something,
time,
may I add
but at
something?
least we've done it thoughtfully. We do not revoke decisions. But just a point on Jazia, 10 seconds, Atikurji, 10 seconds. This is Discovery of India. I have not written it. Jawaharlal Nehru has written, and please go to page number 271. Jazia was a means, and I quote, to convert the majority into minority, convert majority which was Hindus at certain places into Islamic rule and Muslims. Old hated jizya poll tax on the Hindus and destroying their temples was something which Aurangzeb continued to do. I have not written it. 271 Discovery of India. So a historian who came and said that jizya was not a means of converting, I think this is exactly what WhatsApp University happens.
Well, it is because there was a free run for what Utpal Kumar calls, author Utpal Kumar calls distorians. Now, before we wind up, I just would like, I hope all of you can see the screen, our viewers can see the screen. I'd like to call up a map. This was also put out by Smita Prakash. How many of us learnt about all of them? Look at the rich, vast heritage, glorious heritage of kingdoms, dynasties, rulers who contributed positively to Bharat. Who contributed positively, because it is titled Those Who Did Good Things, Most Loved Historical Kingdoms and Empires by State. How much did we learn about the kings of Mewar? How much did we learn about the Solankis or the Chalukyas? The Parmara dynasty is never spoken about. Upar, in Jammu and Kashmir, the Namgyal dynasty in Ladakh, the Chamba kingdom, the Dogras, the Sikh empire, the Garhwals, Kuru. How many of us know about King Lalitaditya who built the Martanda temple? Where is the Martanda temple? I hope a lot of us know today, but did we learn that in our textbooks? This is our rich history. Look at the color, look at the number of empires, the Ahom kingdom itself, the Naga chiefs, so many stories to say. The Meitei kingdom itself has so much of stories to tell. Down south, the Cholas, the Cheras, so many. The Vijayanagara empire. 1500 years ago, the canals built in Hampi are still being used by the farmers today. That's the legacy that these kings have left, viewers. Should this not be part of our itihasa, our history books? We leave you with that. Thank you. Thank you very, very much to all our panelists. Pradeep Bhandari stays on as we shift focus. Hindol Sen Gupta and Atikur Rahman. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Ruchika Sharma. Now, shifting focus to another big update in this entire Maulana Jalaluddin Urf Changur case. Should not call him Baba at all, because he's got nothing to do with Hindutva. He's a Maulana Jalaluddin, and he was called Changur because he had 6 fingers. Now, this case, as the Uttar Pradesh ATS unravels the conversion racket conspiracy, Changur has now been found to have links in Ghaziabad. A victim's family from Kavinagar area in Ghaziabad has come forward raising serious allegations. The family claims that both Changur and an associate, Akhtar Siddiqui, are connected to the disappearance of their own daughter. The victim's sister alleges that the two manipulated and brainwashed her sister in the name of sending her to Dubai, ultimately converting her away from the Hindu way of life or Hindutva. She believes that a thorough interrogation of the accused could expose many more such cases across the state. And according to the sister, her sibling was pursuing a tour and travel course in 2019 when she came in contact with Akhtar Siddiqui. He began by taking her on car rides and engaging her in conversations, eventually manipulating her. He reportedly took her to Delhi multiple times. The victim's been missing since October 2019. The last time she was seen, she was reportedly taken away by Akhtar in a Skoda car with tinted windows and 3 unknown men inside. The victim's sister claims that her missing sibling had undergone a drastic transformation. She stopped performing religious rituals, showed disdain towards Hindu deities, and grew distant from her parents. She even started expressing interest in Islam and was completely under Akhtar's influence. The family strongly believes that she was mentally broken and systematically converted. Listen in.
सर, मेरी बहन ट्रैवल एंड टूरिज्म का कोर्स कर रही थी, जिस दौरान इससे बातचीत हुई बदर अख्तर सिद्दीकी नाम के आदमी से। इसने उसको बातचीत करना और इसको गाड़ियों में वो करना, उसको मैनिपुलेट करना चालू कर दिया। फिर उसको धीरे धीरे ऐसी लाइफ दिखाने लगा कि जैसे तेरे घर वाले तो तेरे लिए कुछ नहीं करेंगे, जो भी हूँ मैं ही हूँ। वो पीर बाबा के चावल, वो झांगुर जो भी है ये बाबा, इसके चावल पड़वा के देता था। कभी उसको पानी दे रहा है लाके कि मेरे दोस्त ने दिए हैं, तो इस तरह से वो उसको चीजें भी खिलाने लग गया था। 24 अक्टूबर 2019 के बाद इससे हमारी कोई बातचीत नहीं हुई है। अक्टूबर के लास्ट में हमारी बातचीत हुई थी, वो भी मैसेज में, लेकिन उसके बाद फिर हमारी कोई बातचीत इससे नहीं हुई। भी लड़कियों के नाम सामने आए थे, इसमें काफी लड़कियां हैं जो हिंदू ही हैं और ज्यादातर कम एज की हैं। मारता था वो, उसको सिगरेट के भी निशान थे, सिगरेट के निशान थे, और बोलती थी कि मेरी एक बार तबीयत खराब हो गई थी तो बदर पीर बाबा के इसके चावल लेके आया था। पीर बाबा से उसने चावल पढ़वा के पानी वानी पिलाया उसको।
कभी छांगुर बाबा का जिक्र किया? पीर बाबा छांगुर जो है वो अपने आप को पीर
वो।
Well, thing is, it's sad but true, Pradeep Bhandari and Atikur Rahman, that he got popular as Baba, but he's got nothing to do. He is actually Maulana Jalaluddin. Absolutely. Atikur Rahman ji is with us again. Thank you for your patience. Can you hear me, Mr. Atikur Rahman? I don't think. Yes, Pradeep Bhandari. Now, this guy was running a racket. This guy was running a racket for more than a decade and a half. 18 years he's been at it. How was he able to do this? And he spread across 579 districts. More than 3,000 people were with him, boys, whose job was to ensnare gullible Hindu girls or non-Muslim girls.
Well, Anandji, 835 cases, 1,682 arrests have taken place in this forced religious conversion racket in the last 4 years. What Jalaluddin has done, and if you recall that in 2024, in fact, I recall you only doing this story.
Yeah.
And the NI is saying that the PFI has a larger plot of making India an Islamic nation by 2047. There were arrests made in Kerala in this regard. Now, we have shown our intent very clear by making forced religious conversion an offence which can amount to cognizable punishment up to 10 years. But recall what has happened in this entire case. You have seen links coming of Jalaluddin with Samajwadi Party leaders. He's gone to even campaign for them. You have seen muted opposition by those who speak about secularism. And this is the same lobby which said that what was spoken about in Kerala files was fake news and was an attempt to distort communal harmony. So we are aware about it. Your question is extremely legitimate that why did it take us a lot of time? But the larger question here is, where will there be a national consensus on this threat which faces our country of forced religious conversion, which is a means to change demography of this country disproportionately in certain pockets, which is also a threat to the democratic constitutional principles. So this is my larger argument. There has not been a single case, if you can point out, where our agencies have discovered that such a racket is taking place, Anandji, and we have not acted for any political compulsions. You can question the alacrity of our action, but you cannot question the intent of our action. But let us flip it the other way. Have you seen similar actions being taken place in states where the India Alliance government is ruling? Say for instance Kerala, say for instance Karnataka, say for instance Himachal for an extent. Have you seen even one example where any of their leaders have come out openly against forced religious conversion? Recall 2022 when 80 people were forcibly converted to Islam. They had come back in public domain and accused at that time Azam Khan of Samajwadi Party having involved in racket. Can you name any single instance where a Bharatiya Janata Party leader is involved in forced conversion racket? Not even once. So our intent is clear, but whether same principle will apply to Atikurji or those politically opposing it in muted voice.
Atikur Rahman?
Anand, who says that I am opposing it? Our primary argument, Mr. Pradeep Bhandari, is the all states you mentioned and the years you mentioned, even if you are out of the ruling regime at Delhi, were you not in the opposition? How many times did you raise up the same Kerala story, what it mentioned, in the past 7 years, 15 years, 20 years, even during Mr. Vajpayee when he was the Prime Minister? Did you raise the point that forced conversions are taking place? That's another story, Mr. Pradeep Bhandari, that since 99 years of RSS, you RSS came on the same plank of, safeguarding the Hindu interest. You have usurped all the funds collected throughout the world just to say that you are safeguarding the Hindu interest. And my Hindu brethren got religiously, forcibly converted into Islam in the presence of the RSS and the VHP and the Bajrang Dal. How has that happened in all these long years? And just tell me one thing. If a normal citizen of India, if he is selling his gold in the market for 1 lakh of rupees just to get his children admitted to a good school, immediately the IT Act applies. And herein crores and crores of rupees. This fraud Baba was misutilizing.
He's not a Baba.
And it didn't.
He's not a Baba, he's Jalauddin.
He's a Maulana, sir.
Yes,
Anyway,
don't call him. He's a fraud. He's a fraud. I have no inclination with him, sir.
No,
okay.
Now, one or two things. V.S. Achuthanandan, the issue of love jihad, that, as said by the Kerala High Court, was brought out during the left rule. It was the left that actually raised this. And the first people to try and cry out loud for the sake of their community and girls from their community was the Kerala Christian Forum and Christians in Kerala who were worried about their daughters being preyed upon by these people who had an intent at that time, very clearly stated intent of converting Kerala into a totally Islamic state in 20 years. This was what the PFI at that time had its objective. This was what is stated in court. But you had a few questions of the BJP. Yes. Pradeep Bhandari, please.
So Mr. Atikur Rahman charged that when we did not come to power at center, did we raise this? Let me go step by step. When September 13, 2008, when Honorable Prime Minister was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, he raised UPA's soft support to terrorism and forced religious conversion. So to argue that we are only doing it now is incorrect. Let me take you back even further. Go back in 2001. And in 2001, I want your attention exactly what at that time the Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee had said, and this is 2001, that's 20th August 2001, where the RSS openly praised Atal Bihari Vajpayee for raising the issue of forced conversion, and where then Prime Minister Mr. Vajpayee said that we have not got a policy on this since 1986 and you need a national consensus on it. That is point number 2. Let me go back even further, sir. 1999 Gujarat. Go back, and this is something which again I am quoting by fact. In January 12, 1999, debate on forced conversion heats up in Gujarat, you know, those who were raising it, it was the Bharatiya Janata Party, it was raising it. Point number 3. So do not say that we have only started to raise it now. Now let me come. Sir, it is the Bharatiya Janata Party. That is why you are able to see Prabhu Sri Ram's Mandir. We did not delay the case like Congress party did. You would have come to power, or your political backers would have come to power. So you were those who had filed cases on Ram Bucks. So today Sanatan is respected because appeasement has been rejected. And it is the likes of the RSS and the Bharatiya Janata Party which is at least ensuring wherever these cases are found, we are acting against culprit. Name me one opposition neta which has acted against forced religious conversion. That's the challenge. Name me one Congress neta which has acted against forced religious conversion.
In fact, yes, Atikur Rahman, but I have viewers a few observations to make. The victims, the Pidita who came out and spoke, one of them spoke with us here, and I've spoke with her at CNN News 18. Our team also interacted with her. You know what she said? 3 police officers, the local neta, all of them colluded. And when she reported it to the cops, under the Yogi Sarkar, when she reported it to the cops, they actually took her back to the same brutes and gave her back for 3 lakh rupees, which they all pocketed. Yes, today all of those authorities are under scrutiny and they're being taken to task. But for that lady, she was slashed, she was hit, she was gang raped, she was again brutalized, she was traumatized, she was threatened, she went through enormous amount of torture. And one day, finally, she got a darbar at audience with Yogi Adityanath, and that's when this whole thing started unfolding. This is after 4-5 years of trying to struggle and call her raise a voice. Now, my problem here, viewers, is that the system cannot function only when a chief minister or a prime minister wakes up to the cause. The chief system has to function at all levels. Questions have to be asked of the local BJP MLAs. Questions have to be asked of all the local BJP Karyakartas if they are committed to saving daughters from any kind of brutality or inducement or any kind of work. So that has not happened. And clearly those questions must be asked. Atikur Rahman, you wanted to say something.
Congratulations, Mr. Pradeep Bhandari, that you raised your voice. You raised your voice in 1991, you raised your voice in that year in Gujarat and that. I am telling you, you are raising this voice since 99 years. The formation of the RSS Anand is primarily on the basis of safeguarding the Hindu state, the Hindu Rashtra, the Hindus, the Hindu brethren. And where were you? You lost the game, sir. You lost the game, and this Panchmala gained momentum in your Raj. Shame on you, sir. Shame on you. You failed, and you should apologize to the Hindu brethren.
But what about the Muslim moderates of our country who have failed to stop these kind of entities like Changur, who are quiet absolutely today when these radicals are busy doing what they are doing? Or is it the sentiment, see, I can't do it, they are doing it, let them do, let me keep quiet?
Anand, I assure you, no Muslim organization will tell you that we are into forced conversions. No. Because that is not permitted in Islam. I would, rather suggest all the Hindu brethren, the girls who are, deliberately who are involving themselves into this, take the money, don't convert. Make a fraud on
You know what,
frauds.
sir? Back in exactly more than 100 years ago in the 1920s, 1922 or 1923, if my memory serves me right, and this is chronicled in Dr. Vikram Sampat's commentary, that Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali are paying a visit to Veer Savarkar. You know what the problem is? Why both of them refused to shake hands? Because Muhammad Ali, Shaukat Ali wanted Veer Savarkar to stop Shuddhikaran. And Veer Savarkar just turned around and said, you stop your tabligh, you stop your forced conversion, you stop your conversion by inducement, I'll stop this and let's work together for the freedom of Ma Bharati. So Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali turned around and said, at that time, Shaukat Ali turned around, he had gone to visit, Shaukat Ali turns around and says, that no, this is mandated. I have to do this. I cannot stop, but you stop. You stop bringing back people back into the Hindu fold. Because you should not do this. Because you do that, there is a problem in society and there is societal harmony is being spoiled. So this is 100 years old, sir. This is 100 years old, this is the version.
Force, if force not permitted.
Sir,
forced,
induced, sir,
wrong.
forced, induced trying to tell them that, listen, your only way out of misery is this. This is the standard thing. There is a grey line that is flirted with very nicely by the conversion mafia, be it in Islam or be it in Christianity. The Abrahamic conversion lot works via inducement. They don't work via inspiration, sir. That's the reality. I've run out of time.
10 seconds.
Okay,
It is
exactly 10.
laughable that we have done 1,682 arrests. We bought a bill on forced religious conversion. Tell me one Maulana who says spoken against Changur.
Have to wind up.
Tell me one Maulana who has spoken
No,
against
we don't have a Maulana, but a scholar who has spoken against, and that is Atikur Rahman. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Presented by This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
All right, starting this bulletin with the breaking news. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has warned Brazil, China and India, saying they could face heavy sanctions if they keep doing business with Russia. Rutte's remarks offered clarity about the potential outcome after President Donald Trump announced that he was giving Putin 50 days to enter into a peace talks with Ukraine or face what he called secondary tariffs of 100% as well as secondary sanctions. Mark Rutte urges leaders to call Putin and push for serious peace talks.
First of all, that the US will now supply massively Ukraine with weapons out of the US, not just air defense, also missiles, also ammunition paid for by the Europeans. And secondly, that President Trump said, basically, if Russia is not serious about peace talks, within 50 days, he will slam secondary sanctions on countries like India, China and Brazil. So my encouragement to these three countries particularly is, if you live now in Beijing or in Delhi, or you are the president of Brazil, you might want to take a look into this, because this might hit you very hard. So please make the phone call to Vladimir Putin.
Well, my colleague Akanksha is with us on the phone line. Akanksha, there is a stern warning coming from NATO General Secretary, where he says that India, Japan and China should stop buying or trading with Russia. Now, can we see this being reflected into a trade deal between India and US?
Arun, important to highlight that this is particularly a warning being given to BRICS members, which is Brazil, Russia, India and China. And as we all know, it comes a day after Donald Trump threatened Russia to make a deal on Ukraine in the next 50 days. Otherwise, Russia would be slapped with 100% tariffs, to which the NATO chief, Mark Rutte, has, of course, gone on to also highlight that India and China and Brazil could also be roped in with secondary sanctions or secondary tariffs of 100%. And if there is any trade with Russia in terms of Russian exports, we know that India happens to be one of the largest buyers of Russian energy and oil. And so India could very well stand a threat of being slapped with these additional sanctions. So you can clearly see this divide between, say, the US plus NATO versus Putin and the other BRICS members, particularly Brazil, China and India. As we all know, there was a unified stance in condemning the US president, not just for his airstrikes on Iran, but also for primarily raising the tariffs and shaking up the entire global economy. And so what Mark